In the winter of 1987, in a small village tucked into the hills of Eastern Europe, 312 people stopped sleeping. Not all at once, not in a single night, but within 4 months, almost every household reported the same thing. They would close their eyes, and something would enter the room. They called it the Watcher. Doctors called it mass hysteria. But here's the question that still keeps researchers awake at night, decades later. What if it wasn't a hallucination at all? What if the villagers were telling the truth, and the only thing protecting them was staying awake? Stay with me, because this story doesn't have a clean ending, and that's exactly why it still spreads.
The village, we'll call it Colvira, since some accounts still ask that the real name be withheld, sat at the base of a valley, surrounded by dense pine forest. Population, just over 300. The kind of place where everyone knew everyone, where the biggest news of the year was usually a good harvest or a wedding. That changed in late October. It started small. A farmer named Petrov, that's how he's referred to in the one surviving local newspaper clipping, reported to the village doctor that he hadn't slept in 6 days. He said every time he closed his eyes, he felt a presence standing at the foot of his bed. Not moving, just standing there, waiting. The doctor, a general practitioner with no background in psychiatry, assumed exhaustion, overwork, maybe grief. Petrov's wife had passed the spring before. He prescribed rest, herbal tea, told him to see a specialist in the city if it continued. He'd continued.
Within 2 weeks, Petrov's neighbor reported the same thing. Then the family across the road. Then an entire street. The description was always identical. A tall, motionless figure. No face, or a face they couldn't focus on. It never touched them. It never spoke. It only appeared the moment their eyes shut. By December, the village doctor had documented 41 cases. He wrote in his log, and this document does still exist, held today in a regional archive. They are not exaggerating. Their exhaustion is real. Their fear is real. I do not know what they are seeing, but I no longer believe it is nothing. That single line is why this story refuses to die. A trained physician, a man who should have dismissed it as folk superstition, instead admitted, on paper, that something was happening he couldn't explain. The villagers began sleeping in shifts. Families would take turns, one person watching over the others while they slept, a candle burning through the night. They said the Watcher never came when someone else was awake in the room, only when every set of eyes in the house was closed. A young mother, identified only by her first name, Elena, told a visiting journalist in early 1988, "We are not afraid of the dark. We are afraid of what waits for the dark to close our eyes for us." That quote ran in a regional paper. It's one of the few surviving fragments of the original coverage. Most of it, oddly, was never followed up on. No major outlet picked up the story. It stayed local, contained, almost like the village itself didn't want it to spread further than its own borders. By February, children were being kept awake by their parents through the night, then allowed to sleep only during school hours under the supervision of teachers. Attendance records from that winter, preserved strangely better than almost anything else from this story, show entire classrooms of students asleep at their desks by 10 a.m., while one teacher stood at the front of the room, awake, watching. Psychologists who reviewed the case decades later point to something real and well documented: sleep paralysis, a condition where the brain wakes up before the body does,
trapping a person in a state where hallucinations, often of a shadowy figure, feel completely real. It's a known phenomenon. It has a name. It has an explanation.
But sleep paralysis doesn't usually spread through an entire village. It doesn't usually last 4 months. And it doesn't usually leave behind a written medical record where the doctor himself says he no longer believes it's nothing. Here is where the story turns. In March of 1988, a research team, 2 psychologists and 1 folklore historian, finally travelled to the village. Word had reached a university 2 hours away, and out of curiosity more than concern, they came to observe. They expected superstition. What they found was something stranger. The team set up basic recording equipment in 3 separate homes. Nothing advanced, just audio recorders, standard for the time. The plan was simple: record through the night and see if anything unusual showed up. Mostly, they expected silence. Confirmation that this was ordinary sleep deprivation feeding on itself.
2 of the 3 recordings showed nothing, just breathing, occasional creaks of an old house settling. The 3rd recording, taken in the home of an elderly widow named Uvina, who had reported the Watcher nightly since December, was different. For most of the night, it was silent too, until 3:14 a.m. On the tape, Uvina's breathing changes. It slows, the way breathing does when someone finally, after months, starts to drift into real sleep. And then, for 11 seconds, there is a second sound. Not footsteps, not a voice. A sound the researchers described in their notes only as a low, even exhale. Not hers. Uvina wakes up screaming 3 seconds after the second exhale ends. The recording was reviewed by an audio technician years later, during a re-examination of the case in the early 2000s. He couldn't identify the source of the sound. He ruled out the recorder itself, wind, animals, the house's old pipes. His written conclusion was careful, almost reluctant. I cannot explain the second breathing pattern. I can only confirm it exists on the tape. That is the entire twist. Not a monster revealed, not a killer unmasked. Just 11 seconds of unexplained breath on a tape recorded in a dying village, in a widow's bedroom, at 3:14 in the morning.
The insomnia in Colvira faded out gradually over the following spring. No cure was found. No cause was ever officially confirmed. Some villagers say it simply stopped once enough people had moved away. Others say the ones who stayed simply learned to live with less sleep and less fear, side by side. The doctor who wrote the original medical log retired in 1991. He gave one final interview before he died, in which he was asked directly, did he believe the Watcher was real? He didn't answer yes. He didn't answer no. He said only this: I believe the tape. I have always believed the tape. Today, Colvira barely exists. A handful of houses remain, most empty, swallowed slowly by the forest around them. But somewhere in a university archive, that recording still sits. 3 minutes and 40 seconds long, filed under a case number instead of a name. And if you listen closely, right at 3:14, you can still hear it. 2 sets of breath. One of them isn't hers.